French Creek State Park in Pennsylvania. I'm going to the Hopewell Furnace National Historical Site. The Hopewell Visitor Center, National Historical Site, and look at the drip.
The quiet, pastoral beauty of this site today would have been a bad sign in centuries past. Smoke, dirt, and noise meant that the iron furnace was in full blast, and that meant work and wages. When the Hopewell furnace began operations in 1771, British colonies in North America were producing 15% of the world's iron. Pennsylvania's iron country was home to many furnaces used to smelt iron ore. Hopewell Furnace remains as the most thoroughly preserved representation of America's early iron-making industry and community life. Hopewell Furnace was surrounded by small farms, from which the furnace community purchased crops and livestock.
These are Hopewell stoves that they were famous for. Hopewell Furnace, in operation by 1772, was one of America's great iron works. For more than 100 years, Hopewell's furnace stood as the focal point of a vibrant industrial community, providing iron for a growing nation. From the three raw materials found in the countryside, iron ore, limestone, and timber, Hopewell's ironmasters made stove plates, cookware, pig iron, and a variety of cast iron products. Look at the blossoms on that kapalta tree. This barn was made with pegs. And look at these wagons. Red wheels, light beige bodies. I wonder if this is some of the slag from the iron making process. This was the Iron Master's mansion, the big house. The owner of the company, David Bird, I believe it was his name. Some of the outbuildings. This thing is quite large. Speaking of large, look at these large trees. Sycamore and a poplar. Another big sycamore in the back. Wonder if this place is open. Has a stucco exterior and a lovely porch. The Iron Master's Mansion, the big house. It's built in stages. Look how thick the walls are, as indicated by the door. And they had windows from the floor to the ceiling, rocking chairs on the porch, and shutters. And look at these iron braces to keep them open. Iron locks, naturally, because this was an iron making operation. Look at a little baby rocker. Isn't it cute?
They couldn't make it or grow it, they would get it here at the village store.
Mm-hmm.
This desk right here is where the office clerk would have been making these journal entries.
Mm-hmm.
Just
So-
very similar to this, right? So he would be this John Babb, everything that was coming and going, and these people, all of these journals, everything had a journal, ingoing, outgoing, employees, people who lived here. Everybody had a journal, and then there was one main journal.
Mm-hmm.
Those journals were found upstairs in the attic here when the Civilian Conservation Corps came through in 1935.
They were the original?
They were the originals.
Wow.
They told the story of who was here, what they were doing, and that is the reason why Hopewell Furnace was chosen to become a National Historic Site, because of those journals. Because it has the most intact story of all furnace complexes like this. We have the most intact. We have the buildings, we have the journals, and we still have the furnace that is still standing since 1771. So this building, although it may seem just like a regular village store, had it not been for these journals, that was the exact desk that was used back in the day. Had it not been for the work that the office clerk would have done, this story would not be here to tell today.
And amazing.
It sure is.
Bookkeepers, the heroes there in this story, huh?
I would imagine so in this particular instance.
And so people would buy what they needed here, and they got paid as well.
Well, yeah, but not a lot of money crossed hands here. So people were just, like if this John Babb pays somebody to do something, he would say John Babb paid Eliza 50
That
cents.
would be like suppliers, maybe,
Eliza would have been a girl at the spring house, or one of the hired hands at the big house. The employees were making, he was keeping track of what they were selling to at market, like how much per ton of iron, how much was that in a particular year, all of that information.
So all of that elaborate record was kept, was saved.
It was.
That's
and
great.
They were found here. We still have them. They're now being kept in archives. But yeah, having that information was the ability to tell the story. And in southeastern Pennsylvania, there are many iron furnaces similar to Hopewell Furnace. You could go to.
Yeah. But here, the mill shed. This is where they kept the flour, the rice, etc. Salt, mush meal, horse feed. They kept the horse feed with the. Look at this wooden shovel. Like they put it in those burlap bags and wheel it out. And look how they whitewash these stone barns. And this is a sort of German style, I guess. It's unique to Pennsylvania, or common in Pennsylvania, but not common in other parts of the country, especially in the South. You know, those big doors. So they would have an elevated section where we could wheel, I guess, the wagons in, and then you had the stories below. Look at that big oak. Look at that sycamore tree. Okay, this is the oven house here, where they would do the baking. Bread, pies, cookies. Rocking while you wait. So you have to build a fire in here, heat the stone up, and then you would remove the fire, and the stones would be, they had to absorb the heat, and they would radiate heat for cooking. Look at this.
Hello, I'm Polly Kidd, one of Mrs. Brooks' hired girls working with the children, housework, and laundry. Most girls work only till they marry, but I began 5 years ago. Eliza North ironing out in the spring house is new. Whew, those girls. Men. What do? Well, we bake, scrub, and dust endlessly. Imagine all the furnace smoke and charcoal dust. And wash dishes. We cook for the family boarders in 2 kitchens and dining rooms, but not regular hours like a decent farm. Mr. Brooks still wants every stove possible, so in winter some molders board here, and varying numbers of teamsters. Of course, lifting heavy iron and sand takes plenty of food. Oh, and do they eat bread. But I wish they'd all take the $5 a month and eat somewhere else. Mrs. Brooks tells about boarding 10 years ago when all 11 molders ate 3 meals a day year-round, including Sundays. Whew, the dishes to wash. Mrs. Brooks might as well run a hotel, but she doesn't get paid by the meal or night, only a yearly allowance. These visiting buyers eat their meals with the Brooks family and have a clean bed anytime they show up. Some don't even write ahead. These ovens? Well, a worker starts fires in them right on the brick hearth. When we girls think the oven is hot enough, we rake the coals down that hole into the ash pit. Then we test the heat with our arm in the oven and count. If we have to pull our arm out before getting to the right number, different ones for bread, pies, and cookies, well, then it's too hot. But it's worse if it's too cool. Dessert is late that night 'cause we have to refire. The Brooks like hot bread and rolls and baked desserts, and they eat plenty of mine. Everything goes in and out on this long-handled paddle, a peel. Oh, excuse me. Have to get this bread out now.
Look how they got a little arch that the root has filled. Yeah, I think this is the spring house. Let's go have a look-see. Watch your head. Yep, spring house, where they kept the milk cool, etc. Yeah, it's nice and cool in here. Look at these crock pots, they have the wooden tops on them. And they got a fireplace in here. So I guess they did some cooking as well. These are the various utensils. Oh, it's a bird that tried to fly in here through the open door. Is this the chicken coop right here? Do not feed the animals. They're feeding themselves. I don't know why they like sycamore trees. They're quite messy. There's some swallows flying around. Salt Lick. A pastoral scene. Across the bridge. Look at the horseshoes on the sycamore tree. Iron community life. On either side of the road in front of you are the homes where iron workers once lived. In the mid-1880s, tenants paid $12 to $25 a year to rent a house here, while their families lived off furnace property or rented near the mines. Although residents were close to their work at the furnace, they faced the discomforts of noise, dust, and wagons steadily creaking up and down this road. To your right are the ruins of a schoolhouse built by the furnace company in 1837. This is a great area for walking in. Walking on the boardwalk here. Here's the garden. They all had these gardens that were enclosed by a fence. They keep the livestock out. Look how thick the wall is. Okay, we got a huge fireplace. Wow, they lived in 2 rooms. Plus the upstairs attic, I guess, was for the kids. This would be the stairs right here. I'm going to walk in the shade. It's quite warm today. Yesterday was an unbelievable deluge of water. It rained extremely heavy for about 6 to 8 hours, and there was lots of flooding. This is down in where I was at in Delaware, on the C&D Canal. Let's do a panorama here. These are black walnut trees. This is a comfort station right here, also known as a privy. Too close in the summertime, too far away in the winter. Look how thick the walls are. And they have a stucco. This is probably closed. I guess you probably have to come here on the weekend to see demonstrations and people in costumes, etc. And here's a pump, a well pump. There is a series of walking, bicycling, hiking trails, a whole network of them. Many of them built by the CCC during the Great Depression years. You could spend several days in here and still not see it all. This part is called the Hopewell National Historical Site. I understand why the horseshoes were tacked to the sycamore tree. They are the patches to indicate the walking path, walking trail. Hey, you can bring a bicycle in here. Maybe I'll do that as well. The schoolhouse. One-room schoolhouse. Tuition was $1.75 per quarter for each year. 2.5 cents per day for a student who did not attend the full quarter. In 1830, the average day's pay for a farm worker was 25 cents. A good salary for an iron molder at Hopewell Furnace was $1 a day. So education was relatively expensive in relation to wages. Oh yeah, these are great trails. Highlands and Hopewell, Big Woods. Pennsylvania Highlands, part of the federal designated Highlands region stretching from southern Pennsylvania through parts of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. Within this conservation corridor lies 3.5 million acre area of forested mountains and hills rising from farmland and river valleys that provide much of the essential drinking water for millions in the metropolitan areas of Philadelphia and New York. This landscape claims Hopewell Big Woods, the largest remaining contiguous forest in southeast Pennsylvania. Look at this. That is quite big. There's Philly. And here we are, the Big Woods. That looks very inviting, especially in the shade.